so gently, called from above. Find your child lonely, waiting for you. Time to listen in to all I need from you. Time to listen in to all I need from you. Connected to source, we'll rise above. The magic I hold needs all your love. See your child lonely, waiting for you. Time to listen in to all I need from you. Time to listen in from all I need from you. I've been waiting a long, long time for you to turn inward, lead me to refine what I need from a parent christened by the sun. Only you can give me what I need to love. Only you can give me what I need to love. It was never about you. They did their very best. They loved how they could, hoping you'd be blessed. It's time now to hold me like only you can do. Time to listen in to all I need from you. Time to listen in to all I need from you. See life through my eyes, wander everywhere. Fairies and angels, fireflies and doves, feet in the grass, sky up above. See life through my eyes, wander everywhere. Mud pies and sprinklers, castles in the sand, living your days without a care. Wander everywhere. Wander everywhere. Now, keeping your eyes closed, just allow yourself to locate in your body the place from which you play, create, love, and laugh. And feel those sensations now. Dropping into your heart, invite your younger self here with us today. And ask that younger self to help you see your life through his or her eyes. Feel your eyes sparkle with your youth and your excitement and possibility, and experience the magic and mystery of the most ordinary promise that you will love and nurture this inner child as an enormous source of inspiration and delight. Slowly open your eyes, and as you look around, just see the 2, 3, 4, 5-year-old beings in this room with us now. And may we all create from this place of love and magic and inspiration. Not so fast.
So you know what to do,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Thank you. Good morning, every day.
Good morning.
Wow, what a day it's been already. It's glorious out, isn't it? And I have to tell you, from my perspective, it's glorious in. It is glorious in, right here in this moment. What a delicious opportunity to be invited to be in touch with our young one. And our young one that was still wide-eyed and eager and awestruck and all those things I still love to be. Wide-eyed, eager, awestruck, curious, delighted. So I'm Reverend Ann Ray. Just in case, Martha, you were gone long enough to forget. 6 months, I mean, you know, or 4 months or a long time. And good morning, everyone on Facebook and on Zoom. I am so happy to see you all this morning and welcome you to the everyday family. Because it doesn't matter where you are. You are part of this family and this service, and well, I don't particularly feel like doing that. So we'll just see if you can meet me halfway. Because being part of the everyday family is a big deal.
Yes, it is. Yep.
And it's a big deal not because, you know, we're fancy or anything like that. Not because, certainly not because we take ourselves seriously, but because we love each other. And we can have been a part of this family for a long time or be here for the very first time today. And it doesn't matter. The love is the love is the love. You know, it's very interesting. The divine spirit, universe, God, whatever our comfort zone is, it really has a sense of humor. And specifically what I mean by that is in terms of today. So today we're talking about your toolbox and how to use it. And this is, for those of you who don't know, this is the last in a series of exploration about how the divine, the universe, God, Spirit works. What it is, what it does, what it doesn't do. And now our exploration is, well, that's all well and good, but how do we use it?
Mhm.
And we don't use it by going to the mechanic. At least not as our first step. We use it by going within as our first step. And the reason I bring up the mechanic is because I need a new horn in my car. And I will be taking up a special collection later. Because my sweet, fabulous Subaru Outback that has been without a flaw so far in its life, and this is not a flaw, this is just something that I don't even know if it wore out or it came apart or exactly what happened, but I don't have a horn. And it's the law. You have to have a horn. So I went to Subaru because I felt that that would be the shortest distance between 2 points. And they're very happy to replace my horn for $550. And I said, well, let me just check that out. And it's mostly labor because they have to take my whole steering wheel, etc., apart. And it was $155 for them to tell me that. So I said, well, let me check that out. Now, the reason that I was saying that Spirit has such a sense of humor is because everyone who has participated in this service so far today has used at least a word, has read a phrase that relates to what I'm going to be talking about, which is just the coolest thing. Vibrant living. Vibrant living. What's our goal with learning how to use our toolbox? Now, the toolbox itself is the container, right, for the tools. So it isn't really about how to use your toolbox. It's how to use the tools. How to use the tools that we have. How to use that inner knowing. How to recognize guidance. How to be able to trust what feels like the next step. Not the whole, bless you, journey, not the whole map, but just the next step. And I don't know about you, but I had to learn, even though I did at a fairly young age, I had to learn how to use pliers. I had to learn how to use a wrench. I had to learn how to use a screwdriver. I had to learn the difference between a flathead and the other kind. And See? So we keep learning. And part of the way we learn, just relax into this one. Don't get your knickers in a knot. Part of the way we learn is by learning how it doesn't work.
Right.
Part of the way I learned how to use the other kind of a screwdriver is by learning that a flathead wouldn't work.
Phillips.
Yeah.
Phillips.
Leave me alone. Smarty! I had to learn that, it's like to every heel on a shoe, a nail, or there's a thing about a hammer in there somewhere, that every nail makes the heel on a shoe a hammer. Well, it doesn't. And then there's all those different kinds of screws and nails, but don't even get me started. Anyway, the point is, and Jean made this point, Laurel made this point, Carol made this point. The point is that our tools are endless. They're endless. And we have to stop looking at the evidence around us to justify our idea of limitation. Because what we do with our life, what we do with our personal experience is up to us.
Right.
It isn't up to me what Denise does. It isn't up to... I gotta... It isn't up to me what Stephen does. It isn't up to me what Patty does. It's up to Patty and Stephen and Denise to make their own choices about how they use their tools, or if. It's all well and good to have a deeper understanding, a deeper awareness. I don't like to use the word understanding because it implies intellect. This is not an intellectual exercise. This is about living your life and choosing, making higher choices, making more conscious choices about that process. And no one can do it for you. Now, what's interesting is that our tools are all the same. We all have the same, in my mind, big, gorgeous, shiny red, multi-drawer, Craftsman.
On rollers.
You thought I wasn't going to remember Craftsman, right? On rollers, toolbox. And no matter which drawer we open, we'll find those same tools in each other's toolbox. Every single one. Now, what do we do with all these?
Right.
Now, learning how to use spiritual tools is a little different than learning the difference between a flathead and a Phillips screwdriver. It's a little different because There's one way to use a flathead screwdriver. There's one way to use a Phillips screwdriver. We may use it for a lot of different things, but there's one way to use it. There's one way to use a hammer. Well, actually, there's two ways depending on the hammer, but never mind. With spiritual tools, there might be many ways to apply a spiritual tool. I bet you'd like an example.
Sure.
I just bet you would. So I'll use as my first example the spiritual tool of listening. Of getting quiet within and listening to our inner wisdom. Now, somewhere along the line, we may have gotten the idea that we had to sit in some, for some people, ridiculous position, lotus, I'm meaning specifically. It's not ridiculous for everybody. But in some uncomfortable position, we had to sit for a long time and endure the discomfort of both being quiet and the physical position we were in. And I'm very happy to tell you that neither one are necessary.
Yes, that's right.
Huh. So then how do I listen? How do I listen? If other ways are available to me. So what gives you pleasure? What lights you up? I'll bet, I'm going to use Chris as an example, and Joseph. Both of you are composers. Both of you write beautiful, inspired music. And my guess is that when you sit at the piano and the music, she's just at the door, and the music is just coming through you, the notes are just coming through you, your mind is not thinking about your grocery list. It's just you're one with what is happening before you. That's an ideal time to listen. Some of us in the room are cooks. And when we're cooking, and when we're involved in cooking, we aren't thinking about anything else. First of all, we may have a sharp knife in our hand. And that's the wrong time to go missing from the process that you're engaged in. What I'm suggesting is that there are many ways to engage in something that we already do and we already love, where our mind takes a time out. And when our brain takes a time out, it's easier to hear our inner wisdom. We may not recognize where it's coming from, and it may not even show up as words. It may show up as a feeling, a sense, an image, a color. It can show up in countless ways. So what's the advantage to making ourselves available in whatever way we do? Walking our dog can be a great way to make ourselves available to inner wisdom if we're not on our phone.
Right.
By the way, I'll just say in general, making ourselves available to inner wisdom does not include being on your phone. No, doesn't include electronics.
Talking to the trees.
Talking to the trees or listening to the trees.
Or listening to the trees will absolutely transform you.
Yes.
Nature.
Mm-hmm.
Nature. When we take 5 minutes to absorb ourselves, to choose, to absorb ourselves in nature, what we're looking at, its changes, the birds, the trees, the grasses, the flowers, later flowers. Our brain is not busy naming everything because it's too much. It's too much. For our intellect to go through looking at everything and thinking about its Latin name and assuming we know it anyway, and our whole body, on the other hand, is involved because we can't have this experience otherwise. Okay, another example of a spiritual tool, and I'll talk about how to use that opportunity of listening in a second. Another example of a spiritual tool is smiling at someone, whether you know them or not. Looking them in the eye. Now, I'll bet you all thought I was going to say prayer and meditation and visioning. Sure, those are all spiritual tools. The point I'm trying to make is that prayer and meditation and visioning and visualizing all have their place. They're in the toolbox too. But I want to back it down so that it's easier to imagine actually being able to use a spiritual tool consciously and make a difference in our lives.
Right.
And absorbing ourselves in nature, or absorbing ourselves in quilting, or absorbing ourselves in composing, or absorbing ourselves in something else that we love doing anyway.
Sing and clean.
It's a fabulous start. It's a fabulous start because it gives Spirit, God, the universe, room to get our attention in whatever way it does. To just sort of give something a little kick into our imagination that we hadn't thought of before. But it shows up not because we're suddenly thinking about how or when or who or where. We're still absorbed in whatever it is that we're doing, it gives something a little kick into this open space that's been created. Now, we can create that open space on purpose,
Yes.
and I highly recommend it. And it takes some practice. And so do using tools correctly. If we're thinking of regular tools that go into a toolbox, at least for me, it wasn't just automatic that I was able to use a wrench without it giving me issues. Of course, it was the wrench's fault. But somebody finally showed me how. And I went, oh, that's how you tighten the thing and then it stays put. And our toolbox and how to use it becomes more important the more we deeply desire change that is for the better in our lives. And change, by the way, that is for the better in our lives is for the better in everybody's life.
Yes.
Anybody ever skipped rocks in a still pond?
Yes.
Or seen somebody skip a rock in a still pond? What happens?
Ripples.
Ripples. And that's exactly what happens with our energy as our energy improves, as our attitude improves, as our creativity comes alive, as we invest our attention and our intention in this activity called our life. You know, if we're looking at our life and we're not liking the quality of life that we're experiencing, you got tools. And what's more is you have friends who will show you how to use those tools and support you in using those tools. And remember, when you can't, where the tool is or what the tool is that will actually help. Wow. That's a win-win.
Absolutely.
So we look at our world, at the world around us. We look at maybe a personal circumstance that we're having or someone else in our life is having. We look at maybe something going on in the government, the local or national, what did you call it, Carol? Instead of a mess?
Jumble.
Jumble.
Yes.
I like that. That is not ours to fix.
No.
That is ours to impart with what we know is available.
Yes, indeed.
And we can only do that once we have acknowledged that it begins here. It doesn't begin out there. We can And you've heard me say this many times before, we can pray for peace every day. If we aren't peace in our own lives, we're wasting our time. We can pray for happiness every day. And if we aren't happiness in our own lives, then we're wasting our time. We can pray for love every day. And if we aren't love in our own lives, and kindness in our own lives, and compassion in our own lives for ourselves, and then others, we're wasting our time. And I know that's contrary to other things that you may have heard or you may be hearing or maybe lingering around from earlier in your life. And I promise you, if we don't begin with ourselves, we're wasting our time.
Amen. That's right.
And it's an ongoing process. This is the really cool part. We are in a lifetime school classroom. Lifetime. It's not like we get it and then we coast.
That's right.
Because there is always a place that requires our higher level of consciousness to be engaged.
Right.
And our higher level of consciousness is available when we first listen and then we practice.
Yes.
So even though we are ending this series, we're going to do it again next January. You can relax. And in between, we'll all practice together.
Yeah.
And we'll share with each other where we're having issues with our tools and where using our tools really made a difference. Because that's what we do. And that's what it is. And that's how it works.